I don't really have anything overtly funny or witty to say about Faust. Outside of like I guess Square One. That's really it. Cue the intro, I guess. Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Daisuke Dissect, a series where I, your host, Griefer Games, Games.png, whatever you want to call me, goes in and dissects the music composed by the legendary game developer, composer, and all-around creative genius, Daisuke Ishiwatari. If you would like to know more info on the man, as well as learn about the hidden meaning behind the theme Hellfire, then I suggest you go check out episode 1. If you want, then you can also go check out a playlist where you'll be able to find all of the other Daisuke Dissect videos. With all of that out of the way, I think it is about time that we introduce our dark wandering underground doctor himself, Faust, and his theme, Alone Infection. Originally known as Dr. Baldhead, Faust is a black market doctor who is incredibly skilled with not only medical practices, but with magic as well. He once had a noble and righteous goal of traveling the world in order to help people. However, on his travels, he discovered that a former patient of his died, leading Faust to believe that it was from his doing. However, he was unknowingly set up by a group known as the United Conclaves who feared Faust's power. Nevertheless, his failed experiment drove Faust to insanity, and viewing himself as an actual murderer, he thinks that he already has blood on his hands. So it's like screw it, and then becomes an actual serial killer, but then changes his ways during the second Holy Order selection tournament, vowing to instead save lives instead of take them. And then this is sort of all of the relevance that Faust has for a while, as since he isn't connected to the main conflict of Soul versus Batman in the years, he's sort of left to his own devices plot-wise. He does, however, make a substantial return later on in the Strive second story, as him, April, May, Ramethal, Sin, and Baiken all join forces in order to stop a girl named Delilah from accidentally blowing up a city in order to enact revenge on the man who actually killed her brother, being that Happy Chaos. This event ultimately breaks Faust for the second time, leaving him in the state that he is now in game. With the Mad Doctor dark details described, I say it's time that we actually get into this theme. Immediately hit with the title of the track, the Alone Infection Faust might be referring to here could be the void in his sanity from the time spent as Dr. Baldhead. The shit attacking him from the other side is a little hard to place for now, but I have a feeling it'll make more sense later. Chaos immediately being followed by the most orderly sequence known out to man as a well thought out structure or beat, and I feel like it's nice to have this juxtaposition as he is now actually working with the people that ruined his life, making it so chaotic. The order that is the Conclave.
Informed consent. It increases words. Relation. Duration. Building the real life.
The informed consent most likely refers to how doctors have to tell their patients the procedures that they're going to be undergoing, which Faust probably didn't do for the patient that he accidentally killed. But since this was set up by the Conclave, I assumed that she was already briefed, knowing that she was going to die, or maybe not, I really don't know. Depending on who you ask, doctors can be seen as holy figures, as their job is to literally save lives. The Messiah not coming could be referring to Faust's time as Baldhead when he was actively doing the opposite. However, what I find interesting is this entire verse is very layered with double meanings and whatnot, as the lines Messiah will not come is immediately followed with parallax, paradox, paradigm. Parallax, if you don't know, is basically seeing the same thing from two separate viewpoints. Paradox is something being contradictory to itself, and paradigm being a pattern. The paradigm, or pattern in this case, attacking, is kind of interesting, as you can sort of be Faust's life repeating itself in some way. The parallax and paradox, however, I'm still sort of trying to decipher, as seeing something contradictory in a different viewpoint is kind of weird when you look at it in that way, and it's sort of hard to wrap your head around. Blue, red, and black hair. The blue, red, and black here can refer to two separate things. One being the actual single sky that we as a people constantly have changing, as during the day its color is blue, red during the evening, and black at night. One more grotesque answer could also be the different colors of blood, being blue when it's inside the veins, red when it is outside, and black when it hardens over and starts to scab. I like the idea of the sky a bit more, however, as the sky could symbolize a number of different things, such as the limitless of human potential, as well as also being a biblical reference, what this song does also have lots of. Coming back to the shit attacking from the other side, to me, I feel like this is referring to a mental battle that Faust is actually having with himself. The other side referring to his split mental state that occurred during his time as Dr. Baldhead. This verse not only being my favorite verse in the entirety of Alone Affection due to its tonal shift, but I feel like this is meant to sort of show off and accentuate the more goofier side of his personality, which is obviously a more reference to games like Xrd. However, this isn't what this verse is only meant to do, as there's a lot more biblical references that can be found in here, such as the Tower of Babel. If you go back and look at where this verse is actually supposed to line up with the first part of the song, if you look at that, you see that it has relation, duration, build and realize. And then what follows is destruction, reduction, Tower of Babel. I don't understand why the Tower of Babel is being referenced here, as I feel like its story doesn't really culminate with anything that sort of falls into Faust's overarching story as a whole, nor the song. However, I just find it interesting. Faust sort of running away and wanting to atone for his actions while assuming the identity of Dr. Baldhead is most likely what this line is making reference to. Seeing eye to eye with his split personality after his mental battle, coming to terms with what he has done, he tells himself that without Baldhead being here as Faust, that he already has accepted that part of him, which I feel like is just narratively just a really nice tie-in to the rest of his story as a whole. The single smile that Faust is talking about here being followed with joy, grief, and fun is most likely referencing how each smile that a person holds could have many different meanings, with one being joy, the other being fun, and weirdly enough how some people tend to smile in the face of grief, as it's just sort of like a nervous tick thing. I know because I sort of like also do that same thing when I get nervous as well. What I find interesting, however, is when it asks, what is it like to you? I feel as if this is sort of Faust having that same mental conversation that he's having with Baldhead, or it could potentially be Baldhead having that same conversation with Faust now, as with the events that's happened in Stride's story. We don't really know who's in control. We would assume it's Faust since he obviously hasn't taken off the paper bag, but it could potentially be Baldhead playing the identity of Faust as to not blow his own cover for whatever things that he currently have planning. No one can see the colors could also be another thing that is referring to the conflict between Baldhead and Faust, as the two of them obviously don't really see eye to eye, referring to the different colors, and how I said earlier, one could be referencing the different stages of blood, while the other could be referencing the limitless potential in the sky that the just overall world holds, and that only really being like discernible to the person who's currently in control of the body. Since Faust is one of the more background characters in Guilty Gear, not a whole lot of focus is put on him in terms of the main story. This leads to his theme being more of a very roundabout way to recap his journey up until now, which is something that all of the Stride themes have been doing to some capacity. Faust not being put the spotlight on kind of blows, as he's such a wacky and interesting character that you sort of want to see more of him. However, since almost every Guilty Gear character is wacky and interesting to some extent, that would imply having to fit everyone in the main story somehow, which in my opinion would be a bit of a hassle. Guilty Gear lore is already way hard to follow, and making it even more crowded with adding a bunch more characters would be way worse. With all of that said, be sure to subscribe and let me know what you thought about the theme in the comments below. And whilst you're down there, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in order to see more content from me. All of the necessary links will be in the description below, as well as my socials. For the next theme, I'm going to be talking about the new kid who just dropped on the block, Sin Kisuke. With all of that said, I bid the people farewell. Be sure to drink some water and play some Guilty Gear Stride.